Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Recently, I went on a one-week trip to Aruba. If you stumble upon my video, chances are you're about to make a trip there too. If that's the case, keep watching and I'll tell you everything you need to know before you go to Aruba. In this video, I will be talking about the following things: general information about Aruba, activities you can do there, food, accommodations, transportation, currency, safety, and COVID protocols. Feel free to skip ahead to a specific section if you want, but before you do so, please show this video some love by giving it a thumbs up and hitting the subscribe button. Aruba is one of the ABC islands in the Caribbean Sea with a population of about 107,000. It is 20 miles long and 6 miles wide. If you were to rent a car, you can probably drive from one end of the island to the other in about an hour. Geographically, it's located 60 miles north of the Venezuelan coast. In fact, if you go to Baby Beach, which is a beach on the south end of the island, you can sometimes see the coast on clear days. People in Aruba are quite friendly, and all the locals are true polyglots. By the age of 10, they're able to speak 4 languages: English, Spanish, Dutch, and Papiamento, which is a mixture of the 3 languages. So as long as you can speak one of their main languages, you don't have to worry about language barriers. The reason why Aruba is a popular tourist destination is because of its gorgeous weather. It's sunny most of the time, and if there is rain in the forecast, it usually doesn't rain for long. Aruba is also not on the hurricane belt, so you don't have to worry about last-minute trip cancellations due to bad weather. Aruba is known for its beautiful white sand beaches, so there are definitely a lot of beach activities that you can do, such as sunbathing, beach volleyball, beach tennis, surfing, etc. When I went there, what I really enjoyed was the water. Aruba has some of the nicest reefs and clearest water, and because of that, it's an excellent place for scuba diving and snorkeling. Now, if you're the type of person that likes following tours, one popular tour agency that I would recommend is DePalm Tours. DePalm Tours has all sorts of tours that you can follow, such as the Jeep Tour, UTV Tour, Sail and Snorkel Tour, Submarine Tour, Island Bus Tour, and many more. When I was in Aruba, I went on the DePalm Island Excursion and Jeep Tour. The DePalm Island Excursion was my favorite. It's basically a day filled with fun water activities and all-inclusive food and beverages, including alcohol, on DePalm Island. Most of the activities are included in the excursion costs. However, there are some add-ons that you can consider. If you're an adventure junkie like me, I'd highly recommend the Sea Trek package. Sea Trek is kind of like an intro to scuba diving. You go 50 meters underwater with only an oxygen helmet, and you can see some of the creatures living in the sea. Overall, I had such a fun time there. It's a wonderful tour to follow if you're traveling with a family, as a couple, or solo like me. The other tour that I went on was a Jeep Tour. The Jeep Tour was a good way to travel around the island and go to all the different tourist spots if you're not renting a car. However, I did find it to be a bit rushed because we didn't get to stop and explore some places. For some attractions, we just stopped, stayed in the Jeep, and took pictures from there. So in a sense, it was kind of like a city bus tour. Now, here are a few tips on booking with DePalm Tours. Number 1 is to book ahead of time. A lot of tours get filled up quickly. I'd recommend to book at least 1 week in advance if you're planning on joining a tour. Number 2 is to pay online. There's often a promo code on the DePalm Tours website that you can use, and it ends up being cheaper than if you were to book in their office. In terms of food, I would say the cost of food at grocery stores is expensive. I stayed in an Airbnb and I did some cooking during my stay. At the local grocery store, I bought 2 packs of ramen, a small pack of grapes, salami, and smoked herring, and this cost me a total of $7.85 US. Now, this doesn't surprise me given the fact that inflation is at an all-time high and the majority of products in Aruba are imported. When it comes to dining out, I thought the prices were reasonable. I went to a nice restaurant in Oranjestad and ordered the catch of the day. It was a very filling meal and it only cost me $27 US, including tips. This is the price you'd expect at nice restaurants in the US. As for the types of food you should try, if you're a seafood lover like me, I'd highly recommend you try the seafood. Aruba is surrounded by the Caribbean Sea, so whatever seafood you order at a restaurant, it'll most likely be fresh. For my accommodations, I stayed at an Airbnb and it cost me $35 US per night. My Airbnb could have accommodated 2 people, but given how small the space was, I was glad that I had the entire place to myself. In terms of cleanliness, there were a few bugs here and there, but they didn't bother me much. If you plan on staying in an Airbnb like me, I'd recommend you stay at one with air conditioning because Aruba is very hot and humid. Without it, you'll have a hard time sleeping. Now, if you prefer to stay at hotels or more upscale accommodations, not to worry. Aruba is very dependent on tourism, so of course they would have nice hotels that you can stay in. However, be warned that hotels in Aruba can cost anywhere between $100 to $300 per night. Next, I want to talk about transportation. There are a few ways you can get around the island. Number 1. Car rentals. It's quite easy to drive in Aruba, and it's also a cost-effective way to get around if you're traveling with a group of people. I've seen car rentals go from anywhere between $50 to $70 US per day. Number 2. Taxi. Taking the taxi in Aruba is an option, but it's probably the most expensive option. If you're traveling to and from the airport, the good thing about the taxi service is it's not metered. It'll cost around $30 per ride depending on where your hotel is located. Number 3. Bus. The bus system in Aruba is quite reliable. It costs $2.50 one way, and you can pretty much get to most areas on the island. The only bad thing about it is that they don't come frequently, so you'll need to plan well if you don't want to spend a lot of time waiting for the bus. Number 4. Bike/scooter rentals. You can rent a regular bike on the island for about $20 per day. For scooters, they can be found anywhere in the touristy area. They come attached with a QR code, so all you have to do is scan and then pay per use. Number 5. Walking. Aruba isn't a very big island. If you got a lot of time to kill like I did, you can walk from Eagle Beach to Oranjestad in about 3 hours. Aruba accepts 2 types of currencies, florin, which is the country's native currency, and the US dollar. I paid everything in US dollar just because it was more convenient for me. However, something to keep in mind is that sometimes it's cheaper to pay in florin than to pay in US dollars. In general, Aruba is a safe country. I traveled there by myself and I felt very safe. The only thing that some locals have mentioned is that it's not safe to travel to San Nicolas by yourself at night, which is a town in the south part of the island. There are illegal immigrants living there and the crime rate is a bit higher than the rest of the island. The last thing I want to mention are COVID protocols. You do not need to provide a negative COVID test upon entry. However, some countries still require one. If you need a COVID test before departure, there are many places where you can get them on the island. Unfortunately, none of the clinics offer them for free. The cheapest COVID test I could find cost me $35 US. Before you travel to Aruba, you will be required to purchase COVID travel insurance even if you have your own. It costs $15 US and it covers any COVID-related medical expenses you may incur, along with isolation costs up to a maximum of $125 US per day. And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching my video. If this was helpful, please give this video a like, and if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Enjoy your trip to Aruba!